So I have 8 random questions written here, and you get 3 rolls on the tower, and whatever you get, that's where we start. What is the most recent TV show that you have binge watched?
Elite on Netflix. My husband and I have been taking Spanish lessons for the last year. So it's this like Spanish drama of these like super rich high schoolers and, all the drama that goes along with that. It's also kind of like a murder mystery.
I love looking at Google autofills and what people are searching with a guest. And just like one of the most random questions that came up for you was, which Taissa Farmiga character are you? So of all the characters you've played, which one are you?
Truly, I don't think there's a character that perfectly sums up Taissa, because like you have Gladys from like Gilded Age now, who's like sweet and innocent. You have Violet from Horror Story season 1, who was like, she was like quintessential teenager talking back to her parents. Like she just wanted to, she just wanted to be herself and live her life and not have rules and regulations, which is kind of the same as Gladys in a different time period. There's the nun. I like everything shows. I feel like a lot of the characters I played have showed the kind-hearted part of my personality, and I haven't really gotten to show. I don't know. Like I got a potty mouth. I can be quite vulgar. I'm not. Sometimes in the interviews, I feel like I'm gonna start speaking. I'm like, you gotta think first. So I don't know. I feel like the perfect Taissa character hasn't come out yet. Like I need to. That's my goal. I feel like in the next few years is to do something that shows off, different sides of me, and also like 27-year-old Taissa.
If you could add any one like super random fact about yourself to your IMDb trivia page, what would it be?
I am a fabulous whistler. You give me a song and I may not know it, but like I am really good at just whistling.
Well, I need a demonstration.
Okay. Hold on. What's the song? I'm like the first thing that comes to mind.
Happy birthday or something simple.
Okay.
It's a day on the set of the Gilded Age. You guys are all working on a big scene where you're all together, and then all of a sudden a zombie outbreak happens. I'm going to give you a couple character description, and you have to tell me who best suits this description and why.
Okay.
Who is most likely to be the last person to catch on and not realize that there are zombies in the room?
Jack Gilpin. He would. I feel like he's so focused in all the time on being the butler and being present and being ready at a moment's notice for whatever Bertha needs. But I feel like sometimes he's not paying attention to like everything else that's going around.
Who is the most likely to sacrifice themselves for the others?
Harry Richardson, in a heartbeat. He plays Larry. He would absolutely sacrifice himself. He might push me first, but then sacrifice himself for everybody else.
Who is the most likely to trip and fall while running from the zombies?
Me. I 100% would be the first one to fall. Especially if I was in wardrobe on Gilded Age, I would trip and fall in a heartbeat. There's a moment where we're doing a tennis scene in Newport later on, and I don't know if it's going to make it into the edit, but it's like a cartoon, like feet up, skirt up, it was amazing.
Who is the most likely to get bit and then try to hide their infection?
I feel like Morgan Spector, my dad. I feel like he'd be like Papa Bear, like he's trying to like help us and move on, but like he's still slowly starting to he's starting to turn, but still trying to like take care of us. I feel like we'd be in a good way. You know what I mean? He's hiding in a good way to try and save us.
Who is the most likely to be the last one standing?
I feel like Danae Benton, who plays Peggy. I feel like she is like a boss ass monk. I feel like she would last. I feel like I would turn to her. I feel like I would absolutely bow down and be like, tell me what to do. You know it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Collider Ladies Night. I know I say I love every single guest, but this right here is truly one of my favorites out there. Taissa Farmiga, I'm so happy to have you on this.
Perry, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's nice to see you again. I feel like we always have a really good time.
I think I know this story for you, but what is the movie, the performance, the personal experience, you name it, that first made you say, I have to be an actor and nothing else?
I mean, I've always loved playing pretend. I remember, being like a young teenager and reading books and like acting out the scene in my head or finishing Harry Potter and be like, I need more, and like finding fan fiction and like acting out fan fiction scenes on my own and in the bathroom, hiding from all the other siblings in my house. But it was never something that I was like, oh, this is what I want to pursue. Vera, it was always Vera's job, and it's like, oh, that's cool, but that's like her world. I always had a very logical and mathematical brain. I kind of wanted to be an accountant going into my sophomore year in high school. I really love numbers that much. If you talk to my accountant, in fact, they emailed me 2 days ago and they said, thanks again for always being on top of your accounting. Biggest compliment, best compliment I've gotten so far in 2022. But anyway, so there wasn't like a specific movie or moment, but filmed Higher Ground. It got into Sundance. Vera invited me to go, and people started asking like, oh, is your sister acting now? There was some interest, and I really loved it. And the thing that I loved about it was that I got to be somebody different. I was a very shy teenager. I wouldn't be able to maintain eye contact and have a conversation with you. So being able to, be in my sister's movie and play a different character and experience someone else's emotions, it was just freeing. I got to be somebody else and realize there's a different experience out there. So yeah, I did that, and then I got the audition for American Horror Story. I auditioned for that, got the pilot, and then that's ran its course. It's done its thing. It's been such a notable presence in my life for a decade. And I think it was somewhere within the first year of doing it, where, I don't know, it just hit me one day. I was like, I need this, like, as Taissa, to figure out who I am. I need to be able to be other people, to figure out who I am and what my emotions are. I feel very privileged and lucky to be able to have such an outlet, because a lot of people, they're still well into their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s trying to figure themselves out. And I feel like acting has really given me that outlet to make mistakes through other characters and sort myself out. So that's what I love about it.
So you start on Higher Ground, which I imagine is like a really ideal position to be in when you're jumping
surrounded by family and comfort, and
yes. But then you leave that. Is there anything from the way that the Higher Ground set was run that you wanted to hold tight to and have on your other projects, but then leaving the comfort of family, is there anything that kind of like smacked you in the face that you had to adjust to on the next films?
The next project after Higher Ground was the pilot of American Horror Story. And I remember when I was there filming, I was in the hair and makeup trailer, and I remember Kim, the makeup artist who I adore to this day, she was so happy after the first day. She's like, I thought you were going to be a little brat. I thought you were going to, not because she met me, but she was like, oh, I got the young one in the cast. So like her saying that to me, again, I was so shy, I could barely talk at all. And I was like, oh no, am I doing something wrong? Like the first thought is like, wait, I'm not being bratty enough. There was a comforting presence from being around Kim, and she almost felt like another mom to me on that set. But it made me think back to Higher Ground. It was like everywhere I turned, there was someone with family. I remember the first time being like, oh wow, this is real life. There's no really like a safety net of like, if you're fucking up your lines, there's nobody there to be like, hey, it's okay. It's like, you got to do it. And that's that. And I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I react really well under pressure. I don't crumble. I pretend that everything's okay, and then I go home and cry later. But like in the face of it, I'm like, I got this.
Here's something horror-ish for you, and I'm just absolutely fascinated by this. Quibi. I have just 1,000,001 questions. What made you want to be part of a project on a new platform and in a new format like that? And then I guess from your perspective, having worked hard on something in it, what was it like watching the whole thing, kind of crumble?
It came at a point where I'd been dealing with like a lot of just like digestive health issues for a few years, and ended up finding out that I had like a parasite in my blood. And I just dealt with like getting rid of, and it all happened like right around The Nun and American Horror Story when I went back for Apocalypse. And so it was like I was coming off this period of just like personally just like a lot of shit going on. So it was a straight offer, and I was super excited because I was like, I don't know, this could be really fun. And also I was like, I feel like I'm going to work out, like having to climb a windmill tower. I was like, this is going to be like, I'm going to be working out for 2 weeks. This is great. I'm getting paid to work out. So it wasn't necessarily like, ooh, the new platform. That didn't cross my mind. I was just excited. I think I was just excited for a job and to be taken away into a completely like different scenario with people that were supposed to be like really fucking rad. And then pandemic hit and people stopped. I mean, the whole point of it was to like watch on the go, right? So it made sense to me. I was like, this could work. Like I'm like, when I'm in New York, I'm sitting in the subway. I mean, there's plenty of people who travel. Like people love to, I mean, if you're sitting there watching TikTok videos, why wouldn't it work for watching something with like story?
In a very drastic switch, after we covered all this horror, the Gilded Age. You are just so incredibly drastically different in this show.
Well, I mean, in a way, it's actually interesting because when you were asking me earlier, and I was talking about the different characters and who I am, I was like, oh, there's actually, I see. It's funny because Gladys feels like almost there's a little bit of a callback. You know, you're rebelling against the parental units, and she doesn't want what her parents want for her, and she wants to take her own stand and find her own identity. I think Violet obviously had a much clearer sense of who she was at that point than Gladys does now, but I think that also has to do with the time period. But yeah, I think that's why I was first drawn to it, was jumping into a world that I wasn't normally associated with.
What was the audition process like for that? If it wasn't a straight offer, was it one of those situations where you could have been cast in a bunch of roles and then Gladys hit, or were you always going for Gladys?
I originally read for the lead woman, Louisa's character. She plays Marion Brooke. She's the intro into and what takes us into the world, and her story is kind of the main story we follow over the arc of the season. But when I was auditioning for it, I had a hard time. I remember I read once with my husband. I didn't like the tape. I tried to make the self-tape twice, and I wasn't happy with it. And I just couldn't. I don't know why I wasn't clicking or responding to Marion. And then I sent in a tape, and I was like, I feel fine about it. It's what it is. And then casting the producer, they really liked it, but it was like, it's clearly not right for Marion, but like, we really, really like you. Will you read this character? And I was like, okay, why not? Like, I mean, I was down to try it. Cause again, perfectionist. I felt like, not that I failed at the other tape, but I was like, I didn't fully connect. So I was happy to have a second shot with Gladys, and that taped it in 2 seconds. And I was like, oh, I know this girl. There's so many versions of like 16, 17-year-old Taissa. So auditioned for that, and then they seemed really stoked on it, and then had a director session with Michael Engler, and it was literally the day that the Downton Abbey movie was coming out, and I was trying to make sure in the casting office, I was talking to my fiance, and I was like, babe, how do I naturally be like, congrats on the project? I was like, how do you socialize?
Maybe I'll discover this further into the series, but I started to wonder, is her keeping Gladys in lockdown mode purely for status and until she's ready to fill the ballroom, or is there something else lurking underneath that, gives her genuine concern for her daughter being too young and not ready to get out in the world?
I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that I'm sure it's a combination of both. But I feel like as a parent, you're blinded by love and affection, hopefully, towards your child. But it's the desire to protect your, that piece of you. You know what I mean? Like, we are technically, like, you become from, and it's like whatever your parental figure is, it's like you want to care for the one that's in your custody. And like, I think, Gladys is very privileged. She grew up with wealth. She doesn't know what it's like to struggle. I think the difference is her parents grew up in like working class families, and they had to build from nothing, where, George made his millions all on his own. And I think there's a bit of, she's a bit naive in the sense that she doesn't know what it's like out in the real world. So obviously she pushes and she fights for what she wants, but Bertha knows the other side of it. She knows how bad it can be and how less fortunate and what it's like to live in poverty. So I think that's why for her, it's life and death with wanting to fit into society and also, use her daughter as a pawn in her big game. Gladys is a puzzle piece. She is her daughter and she cares for her, but she's also in 1880s. You have to play the game if you want to have any sort of freedom or life as a woman. Like if Bertha doesn't make it into high society, what does she have besides her husband's money? She's got nothing. She's alone.
Can you name someone in this industry who you think is changing it for the better?
Carrie Coon. I feel like she is someone who is not afraid to speak and be herself. And that's something I definitely have a very this is made more on a personal note, but I mean, she's also very vocal about political views and also how she approaches projects and the kind of projects she wants to be a part of. But just, having your opinion and saying it and not trying to be a people pleaser. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's a problem I have. And I feel like a lot of actors too. And I feel like I'm finally getting to a point in my career where I have to do that. And Carrie is someone who I definitely look up to in that regard. And I'm gonna push for what I want and fight for what I want. If I don't agree with what's going on, I'm gonna say something.
What is the biggest fear that you've ever had that you've actually managed to overcome?
It's an interesting question because I think of like the first fear and I think of like an outward thing, but I think I would have to say fear of like there's two things that keep going back and forth in my mind. I was like, you can't say that. You could say it. Which is literally, it's just me saying, um, uh, you've broken me, Barry. No, it's the fear of being accepted and being liked. I think that's like the thing when I was a teenager, of people, responding to me for me and not say who family is or who what it, you know what I mean? And I think something I've come over or gotten over is being like, well, if you don't like me, too bad. And it's still something I'm like, it's a fear, like every conversation I go into. I was like, even saying it, I had a conversation in my head being like, you're gonna say that. This was a truthful moment.
All right, I gotta let you go. As always, it is such a pleasure to talk to you.
Such a
Thank
pleasure,
you for
Perry.
joining us for Ladies' Night.
My
And congratulations on Gilded Age. I need more now.
Thank you.
I feel so green.
Thank you. I appreciate it.